Scott Jennings gets on my nerves, maybe gets on your nerves, and I had confirmed why from Scott Jennings' mouth. It's not just...
Because when you own as many libs as I do, you got to put a place to put them all.
It's not just that, him saying that. He really thinks he owns libs so hard all the time. It's a little cringe. Not just that. It's not just the eyebrow stuff he does, the sort of Jim look at the camera whenever someone makes a point. That, oh my gosh, that timing was awesome. That look, she's crazy. Not that. It's not that he went from calling out Trump as a massive threat and terrible for January 6th and then started to like him. But it's that it's obvious he's performing, not in the normal speaking in front of bright lights and cameras is a performance, but in the literally saying things we know he doesn't believe because he feels like that's what keeps his job at CNN, as being the MAGA guy who upsets the other panelists. And before I show you someone just, bam, figuratively, wow, figuratively, right on his head, figuratively, I do want to remind you what I mean when I say he confirmed this out of his own mouth.
I do love Hollywood.
Do you consider yourself as you're like in showbiz now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I do is a mixture of showbiz and WWE.
Yeah.
And
you're a heel.
What I do is a mixture between WWE and showbiz. So he's saying he does fictional performances as opposed to saying what he actually believes. I'm sure he'll go back and go, no, that's not what I meant. It almost sounded like I was doing Trump's impression of people. No, that is not what I meant. But that is a little, truth that slipped out of his mouth. And to be clear, that's crazy. Don't let people say that. Some people admit stuff like that, and it's like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing, and a lot of people justify. I've talked to people offline when I ask them, why do you seem so different behind the scenes than you are in front of the scenes? And they go, oh, because it's like, it's like showbiz. I'm playing a part. Just so you know, I want to be very clear. When I'm speaking, it's, if any of you know me personally, or you talk to anyone who does know me personally, this is me. And what I'm saying is what I believe. Now, there's a performance to it because, it's not normal to stare into a black orb of a camera with really bright lights blaring in my face with a bunch of monitors all around me. There's a performance to how it's being delivered. But what I'm saying is what's actually in my heart, which sounds kind of cringe to specify, but I guess in this world it needs to be specified. Now, here's a pretty wild and awesome exchange between the politics girl, as she goes by, and Scott Jennings on one of these CNN panels about the release of the Epstein files. You can see there on screen, less than 1% have been released against the law that was passed about transparency. While you watch this, please do remember to click the subscribe button. It is free. It makes a big difference. If you want to subscribe to a channel of a creator who does not see this as a WWE performance, then I'd appreciate that greatly.
Marks 1 month since the Justice Department was required by law to release all of the Epstein files. So far, it's released less than 1%. Lauren Boebert said something interesting there. She said the truth shall set you free. The law, Scott says, that the Justice Department shall release all the Epstein files, not can if it wants to or gets around to it.
Yeah. What's the punishment if they don't?
That's a great point. I mean, that's a problem.
There is none. So here's the deal. I think they should release it. I think they should follow the law. I also have no idea how long it takes to prepare this many documents for this kind of release. Counselor may have some thoughts on that, but they should follow the law. But let's not get our knickers in a twist here.
Let's not get our knickers in a twist over child rape. Why are you talking like that? It's insane. It's insane. The Epstein files is insane? A multinational, multi-generational child and woman sex trafficking ring. So your attitude right now, you're sort of like, well, shucks, devil begun, is just horrifying to me. Every woman in the world that is watching this, why are you acting like you have no idea what's happening here? Scott, this is...
He asked me a question about following the law.
And what I'm saying to you is your attitude. Yeah, and they're not following the law. They're 30 days late on following law, and they didn't explain why they redacted the first things in the first place, which they were also supposed to do.
I know.
Listen,
you
at this point, this is not... I have a strong opinion about it because it is a disgusting policy that they are doing this. They are hiding it. It is not the behavior of innocent people. And everything that is in these files is it could bring an entire house down. And if it has to, it has to. If it brings down Democrats, bring them down. If it brings down Republicans, bring them down. If it brings down princes, world leaders, Hollywood people, bring them down. But what it feels like right now is that there's a giant cabal of people that do not have to listen to the law, do not have to oppose the law, and they were supposed to do something, then they didn't do something, and now they're trying to have a new law that says we don't even have to do it.
And what's really wrong?
So, podcast listeners, Leigh McGowan there, the politics girl, right when Scott is kind of doing his little, well, I don't know who's going to hurt him. It pops up on the screen. She's making a distressed face for good reason. Because that's such a great thing to call him out over. It's not just like, hey, Trump is breaking the law and that's something we should be fed up about. But like, what is this weird tone you have of just, who cares? That's like what Scott Jennings seems to be portraying, is an attitude of, who really cares? Whatever. Who's going to enforce it? What, the executive branch is going to force the executive branch to do something just because Congress said so? First of all, yeah, that's supposed to be our system. Second of all, there is an enforcement problem. Third of all, you should be outraged, as much as she is, as much as all of us are, about this. And you do have so many people who will go, like he did there, yeah, I think it should be released, but meh. And they should be called out over it. Here's Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough reporting on this.
Yesterday marked the 1 month moment since the deadline for the Department of Justice to release all of its files relating to Jeffrey Epstein.
So a month ago,
all of them were supposed to be released.
Congress passed a law,
right,
that's almost unanimously, that said that the DOJ and the Trump administration had to release all of the Epstein files, every one of them,
Transparency Act,
every one of them, to stop, if people in MAGA world are right, to stop the protection of rich, powerful sex offenders. Yeah, but the Trump administration will not do it. The DOJ will not do it.
It's a massive scandal, and I know it's so difficult to stay motivated and focused on things as crazy as the world is now. This is a 10 out of 10 scandal. That not only did we see all the behavior for the first year of Trump's presidency around what's in these files, and then of what we learned, it looked bad. And then the pressure campaign worked temporarily, and Trump was forced to sign onto a law that forced the release. And then they just didn't. Less than 1%, and then stopped. Breaking the law. And this is another reminder of the importance of electing high integrity leaders. I remember way back when Trump was getting into politics, before we saw the extent of how damaging he was, he would get called out for his low character. And I would bring that up to friends, and they would say, no, I kind of agree with you. He seems like a bad guy, but I think what he'll do, I will really want the wall to be built or something. And I think what he'll do is good regardless of if he's a bad guy. And there actually is a lot of importance, aside from me disagreeing with that policy assessment, there actually is importance to the character of our leaders, because what you ultimately find out the more you keep up with politics is the power of our institutions is impressive. And I think we set up a really awesome system. But if you whittle it down to the most core variable, it's just the people. The strength, the integrity of our institutions, the enforcement mechanisms are all only as good as the people operating them. And so whenever you give up on character and integrity in your leaders, then you actually want something to happen, and you think that surely the institutional power around these people will force that thing to happen. It won't. And that's what we're seeing here. And then you feel so lost. You're like, wait, what can anyone do if they're the ones who have the documents and they're the enforcers as the executive branch? Who's really going to stop them? And there's some things they've rolled out of, Congress recommending criminal charges. Who are they recommending it to? The DOJ, Van Bondi. They can try to get court sanctions against this person or that person, but it's really difficult once you allow a government to be filled with people who are loyal to a really bad guy, to put it simply. Then from that same CNN panel I showed you, Jennings getting torched on, he did again, but he posted the clip thinking he looked amazing. Weird. Scott Jennings posted, quoting, "How are you going to enforce your edict on me? Just out of curiosity." He's quoting himself. That's the thing about the left. Deep down, they believe they should decide who gets to speak and what everyone can and cannot say. F that. Oh, wait, sorry, let me specify. F period, that period is how he wrote it. And so here's him with another panelist. And the guy sitting to his left goes, "Hey, you can't say illegals when you're talking about all these ICE raids, because that's not who they're limited to. We're seeing people with lawful immigration status. We're seeing citizens being caught up in this." And Scott takes that as him saying, "You literally can't say it." And he goes, "Well, who's going to stop me?" No, he means like you can't in an honest context. You can't both be honest and say illegals when you're talking about the ICE actions, because we've seen that they've impacted far beyond just undocumented immigrants.
I
You
recognize
don't get to say the
reviewed
word
all the
illegals
material
anymore.
And you
because
have.
the
I don't?
diverse, the percentage.
Who are you to tell me what I can and can't say? I've never met you, brother. I can say whatever I want. If they're illegal aliens, and that's what the law calls them, illegal aliens, that's what I'm going to call them.
Right.
Listen, you can't say illegals anymore because ICE is directly targeting legal citizens of this country. And
How are you going to enforce your edict on me, just out of curiosity?
Listen, I understand.
But just listen to his point about illegal.
No, I want to know why he gets to
It's
instruct
not. You're
my
changing
speech.
the topic.
Hang on.
I wanna know.
You're making a point
making an
about the
emotional
people being
plea.
arrested. Go
I
ahead.
understand that your job is predicated on just getting increasingly more demented every single week, and that the audience comes back to see if perhaps you'll get...
Make your point.
My point is that you're saying the word illegals, but
it's in
you
federal
don't
law.
even really know what's happening. Or actually, I think you do, and
Sure,
you're
I do.
doing this on purpose. But
Yes,
the truth
because
is,
I want the law enforced.
they are not just targeting illegal immigrants. They
are.
are targeting natural-born U.S. citizens.
They are not.
That is a fact. You
They are
cannot
not.
deny that. I mean, you can on national television.
They are
deny
not.
facts all the time.
They
You've
are
done it a
not.
couple times in this very episode.
I still want to know how you're going to enforce your language
For
edicts on
God's
me.
sakes.
We'll take that up.
How are we going to enforce it?
We're going to take that.
Scott, you're... Oh my gosh, so outrageous. Oh, you make me so mad. He didn't say you can't, like, legally, or you can't say the word illegals. He's saying you can't logically or factually, because we're not just talking about people who don't have legal status when we're talking about what ICE is doing, and that's a part of the extreme level of ICE's actions, is that they'll just grab, tear out of the car, harass, detain unlawfully, even citizens. And then all he hears is, I think what he thinks is Cameron is saying, like, you can't say illegals, you should say undocumented immigrants. That's not his point. That's not, I think Scott heard it initially and thought that's what he was saying. So he was like, I can say what I want. In the law, it says illegal aliens. But the point from Cameron's a completely different one than, like, what language are we using to be sensitive? It's just, you're not speaking factually about who ICE is going after. And then he gets fixated on, you can't stop me. Come over here and try to stop me. Grab me. Grab me. I bet you won't grab me in the crotch. What? Who said that? Who even said that? And then one last thing while I'm upset. I know that Scott Jennings pretended to care about Hunter Biden having a job in Ukraine while Joe Biden was vice president, despite never being able to tie any wealth that was transferred to Hunter Biden to Joe Biden, or any action Biden took in his official capacity to benefit Hunter Biden's business adventures. And that was a big deal. Scott, please, I know you see yourself as a WWE fake prostitute for relevance and money, but tell me what you think of this. The New York Times did a deep dive and calculated, just in the first year of Trump's presidency, just what they could actually verify. There's definitely more, but a lot of it's hard to track down. that Trump has personally pocketed 1 billion. Watch the power of my ability to read numbers. $1,408,500,000. That's a big number. You remember Trump? 1,500,408,000,000 trillion. In a year. And I heard about Biden paying $4,000 for a truck. 100 times I heard about that, or whatever the number was. And now Trump, through licensing fees, lawsuit settlements, cryptocurrency ventures, a documentary about the First Lady, which I am going to see, but which was a way for more money to be funneled to him. The Gray Lady deemed the $1.4 billion figure a minimum rather than a full accounting. It's impossible to know, they write, how often Mr. Trump makes official decisions in part or entirely because he wants to be richer. We know. Many times it's to get richer. As we walked through examples before. Pardons, chips deals. And that's precisely the problem. A culture of corruption is pernicious because it not just is a deviation for government in the public interest, it also is the destruction of the state's democratic legitimacy. It undermines the necessary faith that representatives of the people are acting in the interest of the people. So I just call out Scott, but any of the people who talked a bunch about the Bidens is like crazy they won't mention this. And it's not even just, it is Trump's family, but it's not just Trump's family. It's also him directly. Like you can funnel money. You could just funnel money to the president now. It used to be so like, did you pay for that hot pocket that a world leader made for you? That could have been bribery. Like it used to be that they gave you a necklace during a trip and that could have been bribery. That could have swayed your view of that leader. And now you can just be like, you want a bill? You want a bill? Oh, cool. Okay, well, this is what I want. It's insane.